Hey, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the Arizona Monthly Housing Market Update. I'm Katie, and this is.
Ryan, I was waiting for Matt for a second, but I know he's not here, so I got to get used to that.
Yeah, we are down a soldier this month, guys, but never fear, he will be back next month. Matt is not with us today, but that is okay because we have a lot of value to share nonetheless. So let's dive into November, Ryan. What's cooking with rates?
Yeah, gosh, we've seen some positive movement in mortgage rates since our last update. The big news obviously was the Federal Reserve meeting on October 29th. As expected, I know we talked about it, the Federal Reserve cut the funds rate by a quarter. This doesn't have an immediate impact on mortgage rates, but, they do follow the Fed's trend. And this was expected, and it was a big reason why October saw mortgage rates drop. Now, the reason the Fed is cutting is the jobs market. It's been showing signs of weakness. ADP employment reports shows 32,000 jobs were lost in September, which was a lot weaker than estimates. And inflation, it is higher in higher levels than the Fed wants, but it's still within a manageable range and didn't spike as some feared with the tariffs. So, jobs have really been the main focus of these recent cuts. So it'll be our focus really for future cuts as well now. There's another Fed meeting on December 10th. And the one thing that kind of rattled the markets a little bit was that the Fed Chair Jerome Powell, he said for the December cut, it's not a foregone conclusion. He said, in his words, far from it. And that kind of spooked things a little bit. It was highly predicted that there would be a quarter cut in December, just like the last couple months. So these comments really stopped the trend of lower rates, and it's been on hold a little bit. Now, the main reason that he made these comments is obviously, the government shutdown is affecting things. Right. It's preventing the Fed from really getting key jobs and inflation reports. So that they're really having to do with other kind of reports, like I mentioned, like ADP instead of a BLS report. So they don't really have a clear picture in order to make a decision. So I know we were talking before the recording, we're all hoping that the shutdown ends very soon and we could get some of these key reports, because we feel when we do, we'll still confirm that there's a weakening jobs market, and this will force the Fed to cut again in December, which will push rates lower to end the year. But that's to be seen. So we'll see how it plays out. But that's how things are looking right now.
How is that affecting your overall mortgage applications? What are you seeing on your end in terms of new buyers coming in? Are buyers still sitting the fence? Is this news impacting them?
Yes, it is. It was pretty big news out there that rates had seen a cut and they have been improving. And since then, the last couple of weeks of October, we did see a spike in applications for refinances and for purchases as well. So it's gone up a little bit, but it was just reported recently over the past week, since we did see a little bit of a hold in dropping mortgage rates after the Fed announced that it's not very clear in December. It was kind of interesting. The last 7 days have been a little bit slower leading into November.
Yeah, we've noticed it's been a little bit light too, with the Fed stuff, with the shutdown, all of that. I feel like it's all kind of impacting things. And that is interesting to me because coming into the end of the year is typically like the best time for buyers out there to score a deal.
Yes.
So please, louder for those in the back. If you are a buyer right now and your sights are set on the Phoenix area, now is the time to really look at getting in because of the good deals that are to be had out there. Just the end of the year brings a few things naturally, and that brings more motivated sellers. How often have you seen a seller with a listing on the market through Christmas that's just trying things out?
Yeah, definitely. And on top of that, just we're seeing such an increase in concessions as well.
Yeah.
So people who are selling at the end of the year, they're really boosting up their concession, including builders too. I think they like to kind of give their Hail Marys at the end of the year and try to clear out their inventory and get contracts. So we're seeing higher concessions with them as well. So there's a lot of signs pointing to the last couple of months being a great time for buyers to get in there.
Totally agree. And statistically, it's the best time for buyers to negotiate a deal. Now, we tend to see inventory levels drop off a bit because, the comment that I just made, like who seriously is just kicking tires at the market listing their home during the holidays. Nobody's doing that, right? Because they're too busy, preparing for Thanksgiving. They're too busy preparing for the, upcoming family or whatever is going on. Really nobody that I've ever met ever is super excited about having to keep their house crystal clean for a showing that might happen this week, right? Like, said no one ever. So those that are listed right now are listed because they need to be, guys, because they need to sell, they need to move on, whether that be for a new job or whatever's going on for them personally. This is the time that you can really see that motivation. And you know that I totally love the Cromford Report, and I just feel like they are the absolute authority in terms of statistics here in Arizona. And something that they just recently put out, I thought was really interesting, and I just wanted to share. So bear with me because I am reading this, but I thought this was really good info for people to know out there. The biggest price declines have been seen in the first-time home buyer price ranges. Huge, right? Because just a mere, months ago, right? First-time home buyers were having such a hard time getting into the market. Remember how tough it was for them, a couple of, I guess, years ago, maybe a year and a half, whatever. It was really, really difficult for them to get in, but now they're seeing a little bit of weakening in that price point, which is really nice for them. Since July, sales prices for condos between 250 and 300,000 in Maricopa County, say approximately 1,000 square feet, have dropped 4.3% and are 15% below the peak prices of 2022.
Wow, that's amazing. And that might be why we're seeing more activity, because I was speaking of the Cromford Report, I was at one of their meetings here, and they did say they're seeing more activity in like the 200 to 300,000 condo range. And that's probably just because, they're starting to see those prices soften a little bit, get more concessions, and it's more affordable for them right now, which is what we needed for first-time home buyers to get into the market. So we're seeing a little bit of a shift now because of that.
100%. And it makes sense, right? So we're still getting concessions. We're probably still negotiating rate buy downs. So we're getting a little bit of relief in that monthly payment, and the prices are softening. So it's a win-win for buyers in that range. She goes on to say that single family homes in Pinal County, okay, so we're switching from Maricopa to Pinal here, between 300 and 400K, around 1,700 square feet, are down 6.7% from April and are also 15% down from the peak of 2022. So when I said it was a couple of months ago, it felt like a couple of months ago, Ryan,
Yes.
But 2022, I guess it's not a couple months ago.
That's weird. Yes.
I know. It totally felt like it. Single family homes in Maricopa County now, okay, we're flipping to Maricopa, between 300 and 400 again, around 1,500 square feet, so just a tad smaller, are down 2.9% from last year and down 13% from the peak of 2022.
Wow, that's interesting, because sometimes when you see these news reports, even locally, it points to property values increasing. So when you kind of take a little bit more of a microscope and look at these price ranges, you can kind of see that luxury has seen a bounce, and that's kind of moving the averages up a little bit. But some of these lower price points between 200 and 400, that's really where we're seeing the decreases. Because I know, based off the last meeting that was a part of, they said 42% of listings saw price cuts, and Phoenix was nationally the higher on that list, especially for like delisting homes that people are just kind of waiting until next year, skipping the holidays, maybe relisting in January and waiting for that spring buying season. So just kind of another reason that it's a good time, because people who are listing right now obviously want to sell, are more motivated, right, and willing to make a deal.
100%. And you actually nailed the next line in this slide, like totally nailed it. Like I couldn't have said it better myself. She goes on to say, this is a prime example of how broad price measures spanning a large area are not always reflective of specific segments and can be skewed by better performing areas and price ranges.
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding. So you're exactly right. So people out there, if you are looking at the averages, if you're just looking at numbers overall, you're not getting the entire story. And you may be skipping out on an incredible time to score yourself a really great deal because you just don't have the right data.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, like areas like Maricopa, Buckeye, Queen Creek, Santan Valley, those are all very much buyers markets right now, and where the best deals are happening. But you look at the hot areas, and there's a trend there: Fountain Hills,
Yeah.
Paradise Valley, Scottsdale.
Yep.
The 1.5 to 3 million range. So obviously, if that's a hot market and those are selling, that's really going to boost up the average. But yeah, if you really look at these other areas, they're very much buyers market, and seeing those cuts, and time to get a deal out there. Very much so.
100%. And I want to point everybody specifically to November. Okay. So for going out, if you're a buyer sitting the fence right now and you're like, gee, I'd really like to get into something by Christmas, get out now and go and get your home now, because I'm going to show you something that's kind of cool. So this is seasonal trends. Okay. So this is new listings by calendar month. And what's really important, where I want to point you guys, is we're looking at the October, November, December here toward the end of the graph, to the right side of the graph. And we're seeing the amount of listings that are coming into the market drop off quite a bit, right? So you're seeing a pretty significant drop off from October to November. And then again, from November to December, pretty significant drop off. Here's why I love November for you guys that are out there wanting to get a great deal, okay? So November, we're seeing still some more listings come onto the market. It's not as heavy as other months, but we're still seeing, a good amount come on, seasonally speaking. Now we're going to take a look at the sales. Okay. So this is a similar graph, but instead of new listings, we're looking at the sales volume for each of these months. Okay. Look at November.
Yeah.
So November, between October, November, December, November's your lightest. So I don't know about you, Ryan, but I feel like if we've got more to choose from and less sales are happening, then it's a really good time to be a buyer in November. Yeah.
Very much so. Just a classic supply and demand, right? If there's less demand, less buyers out there, they're going to make better deals for you if there's the same supply. Because really what we see is the people who list during the holidays, they kind of get it in there in October and before Thanksgiving. And then after that, they just kind of hold. So yeah, so definitely it really points to a great time for buyers to jump in regardless of where you're buying.
Yeah, November is just fantastic. So I want everybody to keep that in mind. Now let's talk about concessions, because that's something that we've been talking about, I don't know, probably every episode for a while, is getting concessions, and how now is a great time still to negotiate these concessions on your behalf. So look at how cool this is. So this is overall the entire market, okay? And we're looking at the amount of concessions that just in November, and we're not too far into November, right? We're just a week into November. So just in November, we are seeing approximately 50%. Is that 50%? It's really, really small.
It's hard to read.
Yes, it is. Okay, so approximately 50%. I opened up the larger slide here. And the median concession is $11,555. Okay, so keep that in mind. When we are talking about now, we discussed the market, the first-time home buyer market that is priced between $250 and $500, and how much they have softened in price. Okay. Look at their concessions. Yeah. So they've got some pretty strong concessions happening in that price point, even stronger than the overall market. We've got 60% seller paid concessions happening just in the week that we have closed in November, guys. And the median concession is right there with the overall, right at 11,000. So I thought that was really great information to sort of show, hey, if you are a buyer and you're looking at the 250 to 500 price point, like, go on, get out there right now.
Absolutely. And just kind of a reminder, the concessions, what a lot of people are using them for, obviously covering closing costs, but on top of that, buying down the interest rate. As of now, we really are at the lowest levels for rates, but we're just not at that tipping point level where really demand comes back.
Right.
So, but the thing is, with these concessions, you can really get to that point, with a temporary buy down or a permanent buy down. So there's a lot of options to get your rates into maybe the low fives, even high fours in certain cases, which historically is a very competitive rate. I know sometimes we compare it to, 2020 and 2021, and we're like, oh, rates are higher, but historically still, if we're in the 5s and the 4s with a buy down, that's a very competitive rate.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. All right. Well, that about wraps it up for the info that I have on my end. How about you, Ryan?
That's it. Yeah, I think we laid out a pretty strong case that it's a great time for buyers to get out there for the holidays. So
Totally agree. Totally agree. You heard it here, folks. Get on out there right now, especially if you've been fence sitting. Now is a really great time. And, timing the market can be difficult. Obviously, if you watch the show, you're going to get a lot of data. So you're going to have an easier time doing that. But perfectly timing the market can be difficult. And the only way that we know that we were at the bottom of the market is when things start heading the other way, right? So that can be a difficult thing. But again, data is your friend. So stay tuned here, folks. You will get lots of data as you follow us. Hop on over to our YouTube channel if you'd like to check out any of our data from, the previous year's episode or all of 2025. See what we said, go back and see if we were right. I love that. That's such a fun game. Our YouTube channel is at Team Evo AZ. That's our handle. Scroll down just a little ways. You don't have to go far, and you will see the monthly housing market update playlist. If you prefer podcast style on your favorite podcast platform, please do a search for Arizona Real Estate Radio. There you will find us. Like, follow, download, click the bell, all the things, and you will never miss a beat. We will see you next month. Thanks so much,
Ryan.
Everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Looking to buy or sell in Arizona's hottest neighborhoods? Meet Team Evo AZ, your Arizona real estate experts, driven by data, powered by passion. Meet Matthew Lambert and Katie Holly Lambert, the powerhouse duo behind Team Evo AZ at eXp Realty. With their talented team of agents, they're making Arizona real estate personal and powerful. Trusted, tenacious, Team Evo AZ. Team Evo AZ offers full-service real estate, powered by strategy, experience, heart, and a passion for helping people move forward. Ready to make your move? Visit www.evoaz.com and follow us on social media to connect with us.